Okay, so for some reason, ugh, my entire video on making the alphas got poo-pooed. So I'm just gonna run through really, really quickly what I did here. I took images of actual nebulas from the internet. I made them black and white, image adjustments, black and white, and then I did image adjustments, brightness, contrast, and jacked up the contrast, and messed with the brightness until I got something that I liked. Okay? So I got these guys black. Then I took a paintbrush and went in and just made it a central thing instead of all over. You used to be able to use this cool setting called tiling in here. It was filter, tiles. See, now it does this dumb shit. There used to be this option here, filter, and then 3D. Anyway. And it would tile it for you, which was awesome. But, unfortunately, that shit doesn't exist anymore. So, in lieu of that, we are going in and taking our paintbrush and just painting around the edge here with, I started with like 35% opacity and a big soft brush. Went around in layers and gave myself the shape that I wanted. Okay, until I was happy with that, and then I just exported this as a PNG. I did the same for this gorgeous colorful one, which is this, the Rosette Nebula. And then this is also the Rosette Nebula, but the contrast is jacked up really high. This is another piece of, I think it's a piece of this one. It's just zoomed in a bit. That might not be the same thing, but it's fine. And that's really all you need. Besides that, you need one other or a couple other textures here, and you can make this in Photoshop very easily by going through a black layer, filter, render, difference clouds, filter, render, difference clouds again, and then image adjustments, brightness and contrast, and then lower the contrast, up the brightness, and there you have it. Okay, and you can do that as many times as you want till you get an image that you like. This worked really well for me. And then, I'm so sorry, I'm tired. I had to turn in a research paper, so I'm sorry that this took so long. I also lost a bunch of video. This is just another example, but not a good one because I erased pieces of it to make this. Okay, but I didn't end up using that at all, so don't worry about that. Just make these cool textures I'm showing you. Then maybe you can make a going back to filter, render, fibers, and something like this is fine. But with the fibers, you do have to filter other offset it, because you see this nasty line, so you need to get rid of that. And you can do that with the patch tool, which is here with the healing brush and all that, the patch tool, and you just draw a big circle around it and then move it. And you can do that again on, don't go all the way to the edges because you will make another nasty tiling, that not tiling edge there if you go all the way to the edges. So just stick somewhere in your right, and this is good enough. You won't be able to tell that in what we're using it for. So then you can file export as a PNG. Oh. Okay. And then import them into Unreal. Fantastic. Let's see. Is there anything in here? No. Okay. So I brought in some different alphas that I made that look like this one, which is a nebula, the fibers, that cool difference clouds, and two different nebulas in the center that I can use for cool particles. And then I brought in a color that you can also generate this in Photoshop. You can use fibers and make the fibers really bulky, and then adjust the hue, or and I also made this one in Photoshop. Or you can search for stuff like this online, like, what do they call this? I don't know. Color swatches, interesting gradient color swatches, something like that. Okay. So those are all the textures that I brought in. Now, the materials. There's two that you need to be aware of. And that is the first two, which are the parents. And these are all instances which you can change the parameters on your own. So let's go into outer. Let me make sure that I'm just recording because I don't want to lose any more video. Okay. I had hotkeys set up, I think, and I deleted all my hotkeys from OBS because they were not good keys. Not good keys to be hotkeys. Okay. 1 second. Okay. I'm back. Materials. The first one I named M outer. You can name it whatever you want. But, I know this looks complicated, but it's not as complicated as it looks, and I'm going to walk you through real quick. So the first thing you're going to do is grab you a regular texture coordinate node, that's the U hotkey. And then you need 2 panners. You need 4 scalar parameters, speed x1, speed y1, speed x2, speed y2. You need an append node. You're going to append the first x and y set, plug that into the speed in the panner. Both these panners are sharing this texture coordinate, which they don't have to be, but they are, because I'm controlling their scale with this. So, second set of parameters, x and y2, append those together and put that in the speed of the second panner. And you're going to grab you a M, left click, multiply, and another scalar parameter, scale 1, scale 2, and a texture node, 2 texture nodes, texture 1 and texture 2. These are actually the same texture, but we have different values in the panner. So you'll see both of them showing up. This scale right here, scale 1 in the multiply, is going to actually control the scale of the texture. So you'll see if I put a 1 here, it gets much smaller. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and change that back to 0.4 for now. Off your texture parameters, you want to get a 1 minus node. You can literally type 1 and the minus key, the dash key. Right click, 1 dash, 1 minus, okay? And both of those are going to go into 1 multiply. And then for one of your textures, the next thing you're going to do is take let's do the complicated one first. Let's continue. Okay. Both of those are going into a multiply. Now you're going to get a new texture coordinate node. You're going to get a component mask, so you can just type mask in here and it's component mask. You're going to turn off the red channel. It looks like this when you get it. You're going to turn off the red channel so that you just get G. You're going to grab a power node and a scalar parameter to control the exponential or exponent, whatever that is supposed to be. Exponent, yeah. And then you're going to get a multiply and another scalar parameter, and that's going to control the intensity of this. So let me just show you. If I put like a 9 here, you can see it's giving us much more of that white here. And if we just put a 1, it gives us basically none of this white here. Okay, and if I put like a 3, it's a pretty good balance. Okay, I'm going to just put this out. 1 for now. Alright, so we have this nice gradient now with lots of scalar controls. And we're going to get a subtract node, and we're going to plug the gradient into A, and we're going to take the output of our multiply, plug that into B. Okay. Now, this is going to get multiplied by one other thing here. Okay, so get one more multiply node, another texture coordinate node, another component mask, turn off the G channel, just the red channel is all we want here. Yep, just the red channel. Now you're going to get a sine node and a multiply. You're going to go through the sine and plug that into B, and then you're going to go straight from the mask into the A of the multiply. You're going to get a power node, and you're going to get a scalar parameter for that power node. We're going to name that LR power, so that's left-right power. And then you're going to get an alpha offset node, and the offset will be another scalar parameter. You can name that one alpha offset. I have 2 into this power right now and negative 0.06 into the alpha offset. The alpha offset is going to get plugged into a multiply, and you're going to take the difference of the subtract and plug it into the B of the new multiply. You're going to get one more multiply, and you're going to drag the alpha from the particle color into A, and the product of our last multiply into B, and that's going to go into your opacity. The particle color for emissive color is going to get multiplied by the product of this multiply, the one coming off the textures. Okay? And that's it for the first texture, and it makes a really nice effect where it is coming from the kind of center. So if I show you this on a disc, I think it'll be easiest to understand. Let's just go all static mass dish. I can't see this disc at all, so I'm just going to put that back on a sphere. Anyway, it gives a really cool effect. So, apply and save that. Now, outer one is a simpler setup. It's just the bottom part of that setup. You're going to get it to the same place with the texture coordinates, so you're going to follow the same workflow until you get to the textures, and you are not going to put a 1 minus here. You're just going to plug them straight into a multiply. The product of that multiply is going to go into another multiply that's multiplied by the alpha of the particle color, and that's going to get your opacity. You're going to multiply these two. You don't need to do twice. You're going to take the product of that texture multiply and plug it into a new multiply. You're going to multiply that by the RGB of the particle color, and that's going to give you your emissive color. Everything else is just instances, so you will turn on all of the things. you can change your textures here. Okay, and in the instance, we're not really seeing it pan unless we're like moving in and out. I don't know why that is, but yeah, so you're gonna just plug your textures in there. Alright, and that's good. So I made a few different material instances here. I made outer 2, which is just that one of the nebulas in the center, and you do have to play with the scale for that. The speeds should be different. I have and pay attention to this, it's x1, x2, y1, y2 in the parameters. So x1 I have 0.2, y1 0.1, I mean 0.2, and then speed x2 is -1, speed y2 is -0.1, speed x2 -0.1, speed y2 -0.1, and I'm using 2 different textures. And you're gonna do the same thing with the other materials. So I have this pretty colorful one plugged in here, played with the parameters until I got it looking the way that I thought I wanted it. I don't know why it's not showing up, but it looks good on the material, I mean on the particles. Okay, and why does this just keep going away? Alright, and then I have so there's outer 1, 2, and 3. These outer 2 and 3 are instances of outer 1, and then I have m outer underscore instance, m outer underscore instance, and these 2 are instances of the first one, because this first one with this extra bit here is for the static mesh or skeletal mesh renderers, okay? So not the sprite renderers, but the skeletal, or I'm sorry, the mesh renderers, okay? So that is good. The other pieces, like the outer 1, outer 2, outer 3, those are for the particle renderers, the sprite renderers. Okay, so by that I mean actually we have a bunch of sprite renderers. So this one where it says sprite effects outer, that's all these are all sprite renderers, and then the ones on the bottom here are mesh renderers. Mesh renderer, mesh renderer, mesh renderer, okay? And these are sprite renderer, sprite renderer, sprite renderer, okay? This one is isolated right now, so I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to make sure it's playing. If I turn this off, you'll be able to see everything else that I've done so far. These are basically duplicates of each other with different materials on them. So let's go just into the very first outer effect. I'm using a spawn burst instantaneous. This is infinite with a loop duration of 0. I think I started with a fountain, if you're curious. Initialize particle, I have the lifetime random set to 0.1 and 0.6 max. You don't need a mass mode. I have the alpha set at 0.7 for this first one. Under the color mode. So overall, it's going to start at 0.7. When you scale it, it's not going to start from 1, it's going to start from 0.7. So even if you have the scale color all the way at 1 here, this means 0.7. Okay? Sprite rotation mode random. This is the important part. Initialize mesh reproduction sprite. And you want SKM shape plugged into there. So the skeletal mesh that we exported from Maya is going to get plugged in here. So, and I'm talking about the big fat outer face, not the inner ring, okay? Then we have our regular particle state, which is just always there. Scale color, which I just added in two pinks, so a darker pink here, a lighter pink here, okay? Then I have a spring force here, and that's just kind of getting them moving outward. The force strength is -1, spring tightness is 1. Everything else is set at 0. And then in our sprite renderer, I have m_outer1, which is this one because it is not a mesh renderer, so all that extra stuff with the gradient is not there. And that's all you need to know for that. So if I turn on outer 2, you start to see another color coming through, and that's because I have a different material on it. I also have a different scale color on it, and I added a curl noise force to this one. So this one doesn't have a curl noise force, but this one does. I'm pretty sure everything else is identical. Okay, this sprite size mode for this second one is much bigger. I have them set to 60 and 120 max. But that doesn't even matter, because if this is set below... Okay, let me just tell you something about the reproduction sprite. Alright, I'm setting this to... Let me turn this other stuff off. Okay, so you can see it, right? Tiny little purple guys coming through. Let me just brighten this so you can see it a little bit better. You can't see me at all. Okay, so right here under initialize mesh reproduction sprite, if this is not, if particle scale max particle size right here is not set to something larger, then what you have in an initialized particle will not matter. My goodness, come here, stupid thing. Okay, ignore all that. Anyway, this one has a different material on it. If I put... Let's say I just put this material on it for now. Okay, these guys are moving out. Anyway, if you have this set too low, then your initialized particle size will not matter. Because if this is set at 1 and 5, then the maximum particle size you're going to be able to get is 5. Okay? So yeah, I have everything else pretty much the same except the curl noise is added in. I have another layer here. So far this is what we have. First layer, second layer, third layer. We're building these guys up. You can make them more emissive if you want to by setting the initial to something higher. The initialized color, something higher like that. So now it's starting off at a 3 standard across the board. If we go here, we can do the same. This one says 60. 3, and the alpha, look, the alpha ray is starting at 0.6. So if we say 1, we're going to see a little bit more of that. But we want to keep it kind of low because we're blending these friends together. So let's maybe just say 0.7. Okay. Let's add on another layer, outer 4. Okay, and here we get into the cool stuff. Alright. Okay. Outer 4. Now this is a lot of particles. This is 1,000 particles, spawn time 0, loop duration 0 with an infinite lifetime. The initialized particle lifetime mode is random between 1 and 3. I set a color range. The only one that's above 1 here is 2 in blue, and then the alpha for this I have set at 3. If you set it lower, you will see less of that. If you set it higher, you will see more of that. Okay, this is 1. This is 3. I like 3. Okay. Now, I have add velocity from point. Velocity speed is random range float. So this one we want to have between 100 and maximum 300, okay? Alright, you can delete that add velocity. We're not using it because we're controlling this with the curl noise, actually. Okay, we have initialized mesh reproduction sprite, like always with those guys. And the max particle size on this one I have set to 6. So even though in initial particle this is set to 10 and 30, the max particle size I have set at 6. If I set this at 30, you'll see they get much bigger. Maybe more interesting, I don't know, it just depends on what you like. But I think they look good, small. I like the motion you get with these guys being small, so 6 max is good for me. For scale color, I have RGB and alpha separately, and then scale RGB is random range vector. The maximum is 2 across the board because we want these friends to be pretty emissive. But then the minimum 0, 0, 0, and then scale alpha, we have float from curve, and then we're using ramp up down. Again, curl noise force set at 16. And the sprite renderer has the default sprite material this time, which you can change this if you want to, but I don't think it's necessary. So you can leave the default sprite material on that guy. It's not very, well made, but that's okay. It's fine. It's serving its purpose. Okay, so then we're going to turn on outer, we'll just say outer 5, which is a duplicate of outer 4. So you get, this one says outer 4 001, and then this one's outer 4 002. These are both copies of outer 4. So now we're turning on outer 4001, and this one you can see is another material, outer 2, and it's quite lovely. It flashes out. I'm going to add a key right here on the alpha, and both of these I'm going to bring up to 1. Okay, so now you can see we're getting this rainbow effect here with these little particles, and they do have an interesting shape. Under initialized particle, I have uniform sprite size, with the minimum being 30 and the largest being 300. Sprite rotation mode is random. I have an add velocity from point, which isn't really doing anything, so yeah, the add velocity is doing nothing. We have scale color, which you just saw me fix the alpha, which is looking crazy. Why is 0 so far from 1? It's crazy. Okay, and everything's normal there. And I'm using the color, I'm controlling it with a random range vector again. Next, we have this one that's kind of sitting on top, and I'm going to drop the spawn rate down to 60. I'm going to go into my reproduction sprite and turn that down to 1 and 2 for the max. The velocity can go. An initialized particle, I have the lifetime from 0.6 to 2, and color mode direct set with colors picked, and the attribute mode is size is non-uniform, and I said 1 and 3, which this is not going to matter because I'm controlling it here with this one. Okay, so if you want a kind of range here, then you can say float from curve or random range float, and now we can scale these guys up as we go. And let's see, if we go to initialize particle, see 1 and 1, If you want this to be smaller, you can pull this down. I don't know, that didn't seem to make much of a difference. I don't think that's it. Let's get rid of that curve. Aha, so max size right here where it says 200, we want that to be 10, maybe 2, yeah. Okay, and let's see, if we make this okay, I get it. You want that particle scale to be set at 1 and the max particle size to be set at 1.4. The initialized particle lifetime's fine. Alright, so we have a curl noise force on there, a scale color on there, which is controlling the alpha, and nothing for the RGB really. If you wanted to have a random range vector, but not have any, only like say I only want blue, a range of blues, right? Then you can have this go in the range of blues, right? If you just say between one number in the blue channel and a different number in the blue channel. If you want to do the same, if you want to make it purple, then add red and blue, right? If you want to make it white, add red, white. Red, green, and blue, okay? Alright, it's going to be rainbow because it's choosing all of these. If you want it to be totally white or emissive in some kind of way, then you can say it needs to be between 1 and 2 maximum, okay? Now, I love this one, and we're going to use this one probably for our smoke, if we decide to add any smoke in here, which probably not. This is already really heavy, and it doesn't have any fluids on it. It's already pretty particle heavy. So, let's just keep going for now. Alright, so I don't want to isolate this friend anymore. I'm going to turn it off so we can continue down here. Okay, let's see. So we have inner mesh here, and that is this ring that you're seeing. Okay, and let me just show you what the UVs look like for that inner ring, because it is important. So let's go to UV editor, and you can just see. They're ugly, but it's fine. Oh, okay, it's just floating in the back here. Fun. Actually, there we go. Okay, so this is what the UVs look like for that. They are stretched way across, just pretty much normalized here. Okay, and you might have to rotate your UVs once you get them stretched out. You want down here these faces at the bottom to be these faces that are on the inside. These faces on the outside need to be on the top. And that's because our texture is coming in like this. So we want it showing up really well all across the bottom here. And if you're worried about just stretching issues, you can stretch this guy out. Once you get it here, you can stretch it out as far out this way as you want, or as makes it more normal. So once they start looking like squares again, or correctly sized rectangles anyway, then apply, and that's good. Now you can see, well, if I could find it, geez. There it is. Now you can see what's happening. I hope you can see what's happening. Let's, just for the sake of demonstration, turn this up. I have it set really low right now. But we have these lovely pieces moving away from the outside. Okay. And I had that pretty dark just because it can be too much. Now let's look at outer mesh, which you can barely see here. Let's jack this up. There's no mesh applied to it. Okay, shape. What the heck? Okay. I don't know why it's doing that. I guess it didn't save it. Alright, so we're going to duplicate this guy. I'm going to get just a static mesh of this, which if we didn't export it earlier, you need to export it. Just the static mesh, so SM shape. we're going to delete that guy, and we're just going to import it normally. I don't know why I was duplicating it. I thought I could get rid of the skeleton, but I cannot. So, let me go grab it again. It's just a static mesh, so don't have skeletal mesh turned on. Alright, great, there it is. Let's go back into here and assign the mesh. Let's just select it, put it in these mesh renderers. Okay. We're gonna have to fix the UVs on these friends. Yeah, so you can see that it is attempting to use that texture, but this piece right here needs to get UVs. So we're gonna go to UV editor, have a look at it. Okay, so right now they're all unified, which is not what we want. We're gonna go to auto UV. We're gonna go to UV atlas, and then we're going to lower this island stretch till we get like probably that's good. Now we want to make sure we have these exterior pieces at the top. So we're going to select our islands and rotate these 90. This one 90, and this one's going to have to be -90. Then we're going to put these friends right on, whoops, top of each other. You gotta grab this one to move it. You can shrink them just a little bit. Put them more towards the bottom. Apply. Should be better. Let's go have a look. Compile. Okay, so now you can see those textures are walking across these surfaces of these pretty good. I just want to see the whole thing, please. There it is. Why is it being crazy? Okay, and those textures look great coming from the center moving out, and we can say, go back here and fix what we adjusted. The alpha for the second one, which is freaking invisible. There we go. So it's just a color moving across the surface here. Let's see. You can change that. I'm controlling the color with the color curve, or you can just let it be its natural color, which is already kind of assigned because of the material, the texture we're using. I'm going to go into the alpha and put that at 0.3. Aha, at 0.03. I remember why I had it so low. Great, okay. Now we can turn this first one on. It's this blue one, this gorgeous blue one moving out. And then this one is a kind of, this is the fibers, I think. A red one, or a purple one, moving with everything else. So the only thing left we have to talk about is the inner ring. So you can see, there it is. We did talk about this one. Let's talk about this first one as well, which is these like purple clouds. I'm using the starter content sub-UV animation smoke for this one. So I have m_smoke sub-UV for the material. This is an 8x8 texture, so make sure you plug that into the right channels there. And then when you add sub-UV animation, make sure that you're using a spawn rate, not a spawn burst instantaneous when you use sub-UV animation, otherwise it will not work correctly. And right, again, you can change these settings to something more appropriate. Right now it's at 0.3 with the alpha going around the middle. You can change that to whatever you like. Change it to whatever color you like. Okay, lovely. Alright. Now we want, maybe this last one has a little bit too much curl noise for us here. So that would be the red one. And you can rename these as you see fit. Let's make sure everything's on. Let's go in and just start turning everything on. So so you can get a look at where we are at all together. The rainbow one. One of these we changed the sizes on, so it's a little bit chaos. Yeah, this one.